Hello and welcome back to the channel with me, the Orienteering Kid, where today we're in Capsavar for the second round of the TORUS trophy. Yes, we are back for round 2 of the Hungarian TORUS trophy, which is a year-long series organised by Zoltán Mihexi with different advisors across the series, Jan Furuks being his advisor today. And as always with these events, they can be found here on the Tempo Simulator, the link to which can be found in the description of his video. Now it is fair to say that event 1 did go quite well for me, with me winning it, so I'm feeling a lot of pressure to try and maintain that lead after today's event, so we will have to see how it goes. Now from what I have seen about the event, it is going to be in a sort of tree sanctuary where they've planted trees to try and help them grow and sustain some populations of slightly rarer trees, and so it's probably going to be very forested, but I'm sure again, like the previous event, it is going to be challenging but fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. So let's just jump straight into the Hungarian TORUS Tempo Trophy section of the simulator, and we're going into day 2, which today has a 1 to 4000 map with 5 meter contours and it's 7 stations. We are returning back to the 30-second penalty. For those of you that took part in the Swedish Forest Cup, you will know that that went to 60 seconds for that, but we're going back to 30 today. The zero tolerance is 8 meters. Now that's a lot bigger than I've ever seen before, so zeros should be a lot clearer and there are no side problems. The terrain is obviously in this tree sort of sanctuary place, the Arborétum, as I'm guessing they say in Hungary. And for the instructions today, we have real flags in stations 1 to 5 and drawn flags in stations 6 to 7. As you can see from the top of it, Zoltán took the first 5 photos, but he's used Google Street View for 6 and 7, so that's why they are going to be drawn rather than real flags. We will also be wary, however, that some of the real flags might be enhanced and may potentially be drawn kites instead, because if we remember back to the first event, some of them were. And then we have the black crosses, which could be 4 different things today. They could be a bin, they could be a sitting place or a bench, they could be a playground item, or they could be a table. And so we will have to keep an eye out for all of those different types of feature, and remember that they could all be black crosses. As always, my answers will be appearing in the top right hand corner of the screen, so you can see exactly what I'm putting, correct or wrong, with the black and red letters respectively at the moment that I do. And yeah, with that, let's have a go at round 2 of the Hungarian TORUS trophy. And here is station 1. Okay, there looks like a bench there with a black cross, big patch of trees, that tree there. So that's the patch of 3 trees, and so that tree is Echo. That at the back, it's got to be Bravo. That patch there is Delta. That patch there I believe is Alpha. And we are miles behind us. And that was quite a nice station 1 actually. One thing I did notice straight away was the patch of 3 trees by Charlie with the black cross in it of the bench. And so when the map came up, as much as there were a few black crosses around, I was able to locate the triangle of 3 trees with the bench of Charlie. And so that was on the left of a big green blob with Delta on. And then the next tree to the right of it was where Echo was, and that had a black cross or 2 by the tree, so I was happy with that one as Echo, and then everything else seemed to follow on from there. There was a slight moment of doubt with the final task as we debated whether we'd actually got the first 4 right, but I think I was fairly confident with their positionings, and so I am fairly happy with that station, and we will now go straight on to station 2. Okay, trees in a line, black cross by Delta, Foxtrot's on that line. That's got to be those trees, surely. Oh, okay, that tree there, that fits with the black cross, so that one's Foxtrot, and that corner will be Echo. Black cross over the side of path. Those 3 trees, that fits as Alpha. That's not the right tree. And I can't remember answering 5 tasks there. Oh yeah, no, I definitely did. I was expecting a final task to come after that one, but that one did seem to go quite quickly, even though it did take me longer than the previous station. But I think once we'd worked out what that rectangular piece of woodland was, and there was actually a bush behind it, and a distinctive tree, we were very happy with that one as Foxtrot, and then things started fitting from there with Echo on that rectangular bit, and then a black cross the other side of the path, whereas Delta was on the nearer side of the path, and and then Alpha right in front of us on the next bit, and I believe that last one was a 0 as well, because I wanted it to the right of Bravo but the other side of the path. So yeah, I don't think that was too bad at all. I think we are actually doing alright to start with, but that could all change as we go into station 3. Okay, that'll be a black cross. All the controls are there with the things. Okay, that's the path. Bend in the path. I think that's too far up the path. Black cross, middle tree is that one. Can I believe that's Foxtrot? Kinda can't be anything else. That bush there. I think that's kind of really got to be Charlie, although that might be wrong. That's out the photo, and that tree is Delta. And that station did take me a bit longer to work out. I think the second and third tasks especially, I was just checking the positioning. Foxtrot definitely seemed in the right place. I'm still a bit wary of Charlie, but I think the vegetation that Charlie was to the east of was a lot thicker than just a walkable woodland, and so I'm pretty sure that that was the thicket. And there were two quite interesting zeros. The first one being with the first task a lot further up the path. I saw how the path bended by Alpha Bravo and Charlie, and it bent in the opposite direction out by the 0, so I was happy to put that one as 0. And also the bush that we wanted for the fourth task was a long way away from the path, and we had managed to place ourselves in the first couple of tasks, so I think I am okay with that one. That's possibly my weakest station at the moment, but we will now go on to station 4. Okay, black cross at the back is what I'm guessing. The lines of trees are the path. That path, okay, that's the building. That's got to be Echo. Behind the building is a 0. Those bushes there, that small bush is Alpha. I don't really know where Charlie is, but none of them are near that one. And that's Delta. And that was another good station. Definitely spotting the building. I originally thought it was going to be a black cross, but it did turn out to be a building. Really helped, and the path also helped us to place us there. So the second and fourth tasks being behind the building and right next to the building definitely were 0s. I thought the third task was the most interesting in that station, as I originally thought it was going to be a 0, but then looked again as I couldn't see the second bush behind it, and realised that what I thought was the whole bush at the front was actually the two bushes, with the smaller one being the one with Alpha on and the one we wanted. So I thought that was a good task, and that may have tripped a few of you up. And yeah, I don't think that was too bad a station at all. We are just over halfway through, and I am still enjoying it. I think this is going well for me at the moment, but again, that could all change as we go into station 5. Okay, the patch of trees is going to be the biggest thing here, with the two bushes behind it. Those are the 4 trees. Can I see another tree? Well, it's got to be behind that. I think that's Echo. Front tree is Charlie. Bush round there, I'm going to have to believe it's Alpha. That's definitely the wrong tree, and that is actually the tree we want. And I'm quite glad there we didn't actually use the Delta kite, I think it was, or it could have been Charlie. I can't quite remember which one was the one on the bush, because I'm not sure I can quite tell you exactly where that one was. But I do think that was another good station. The most interesting thing there for me was the fourth task, as it was on a tree, but it was a less distinct tree than the tree that Bravo was on, and we did actually go to that tree for task 5. So if you made the mistake of going with Bravo for task 4, you probably would have realised it and gone with Bravo for 5, or you would have trusted yourself and gone with 0. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, I thought that was another very good station, and we now move on to the final 2 stations of the day, which means we are moving from the photos that Sultan took himself and the real kites to Google Street View photos and virtual drawn-in kites. So we will also have to look out for a bit of potential distortion in the photos, but that shouldn't affect us too much as we go into station 6. Okay, it'll be the black cross at the back, line of 3 trees, Charlie and Delta. That's that line of 3 trees, surely. That all seems to fit. Or maybe not, I'm now doubting that. Is that the tree with the canopy? Because that would then... Oh no, that is the better fit. That one is Charlie, that one's Alpha. That one is Delta. That one out the front is Foxtrot, and that tree there It's going to be Bravo, and I don't think there were any zeros in that station. It took me a long time to get it straight away, but then we powered through some of the earlier tasks as I'd managed to place them a bit better. And yeah, that was actually quite an interesting station, as there were a couple of places I was debating could have been the correct location, a few lines of trees, but I think we just had to trust we were in the right place, and so everything fitted as Charlie, Alpha, Delta, Foxtrot, Bravo. So again, I don't think there were any zeros. I thought that was another good station, and so with that we will move on to the final station of the day, which is Station 7. Okay, it's a load of play equipment, so there will be a load of crosses. That's the crosses. Okay, that's that area, so that one is going to be Bravo. Tree other side of path is definitely the wrong tree. Tree there is Alpha. That corner, or that black cross, I'm gonna have to believe there's something there, and that one is Foxtrot. And that was a good final station to round off the day. I think the only zero in that station, the trick being on the wrong tree, was good and possibly would have caught some of you out. But I think that was a really good second round, and so we will go have a look at the stations now. And with Station 1, I thought the key thing that I spotted here was the black cross of the bench with Charlie on it and the 3 trees in the triangle shape. Because once you spot that, there's only really one place on the map it can be, and it's this here with the white canopy, the 3 distinct trees in it, and the black cross. And so once you've got that, you can see that things start to match up. With the bush to the right of it of Delta, you have the bush coming forward from it of Alpha, hiding all these trees. The bush you go back on really must be this one here where Bravo is, as this circle will be the one behind Charlie. And then we come across to the right hand side of the smaller bush, although it does look a lot bigger in the photo, and we have 2 trees and a black cross, and we want the more distinct tree, the southwestern side of it. And if you look here, there's a small tree, there's a big tree, and there's the black cross. So that is definitely where Echo is. It is on the southwestern side of it, so I'm happy with that one as Echo. And then we go out to the green circle at the back, and it was distinguishing it based on the triangle of 3 trees as we were for the first couple of tasks, and that one definitely fits as Bravo, as we've said, Alpha being on this one with the enhanced kite. And then we go back to Bravo, also on the southeastern side of that bush, so that one is definitely good as Bravo. Then we come out to the bush to the right hand side of the triangle of 3 trees, and we have said that Delta is on the right end of that bush, and so that one should definitely be Delta. And then we come to the bush next to the patch of 3 trees, and I was debating this for a split second as I thought that maybe Alpha could be on one further forward, but there definitely isn't one on the map, so that must be the first one that we reach, and so is Alpha. And then in watching the map move, we then come a long way down the map as the patch of 3 trees is here, and we want a bush, and quite a few of you might have put Foxtrot here, and I'm having a quick look to see if it is Foxtrot, but I don't think it is, because I believe Foxtrot is going to be on this bush here, as if we could see Foxtrot here, then this patch of 3 trees will be this one here, and they are in a different orientation. And so this one is definitely a 0, it's a long way behind us, and I think that was quite a nice task to round out that station. I don't think it was too hard to start with, but I think there was one thing key to spot here, being that triangle, and also there were a couple of tricks which may have tripped a few of you up. And then coming to Station 2, this one took a bit more thinking to get right straight away, because all we can see here is a load of trees, and there is some white woodland here, and there are some trees to the right in some white woodland, and some trees to the left as well in some white woodland. So which one is it going to be? Well, the biggest distinguisher here is this massive green blob, which is going to be a big thicket, and that is what you can see in the right hand side of the photo, so that helps to definitely place us here. It also fits with a black cross being back there just here, and there is also a black cross here with Delta on, so we are definitely there. And then we want the first distinctive tree in front of the big green blob, and that does seem to be exactly where Foxtrot is. Just to confirm it, you notice that these trees are in lines in a block shape, and that could be what this rectangular bit of forest is. So I'm very confident to say that that one is Foxtrot, is also definitely on the southeastern side of that tree. And then we come forward to the rectangular piece of woodland, and you want the southern outside corner of the copse, and I think that is definitely Echo there. You can see that the trees stop, and so that must be where this line stops, and that's just about where the centre of the circle is, so that one is definitely Echo. And then if you watch the circle, we go to a black cross that is the other side of the path, and I originally looked at Delta and went, it's this side of the path, also thinking that we won't be able to see this black cross because it will be behind the blob. Now that isn't completely true, as we can see the sign there, however that is the sign we want, not the one here, and so this is definitely a 0 because no kites are on that side. sign. And then we come forward, and there is a debate whether this one is alpha or a 0. However, in looking at the shapes of the trees, you can see there are 2 distinct trees here in a line, and so this is going to be the one that Charlie's on, and there is another tree coming out behind it, and then there are 3 trees in a triangular shape that are slightly smaller, and so they are these 3 trees, and the position on the map is just below them, so it's going to be slightly towards us in the photo, and that is definitely where alpha is. So I'm happy with that one being alpha. And then the final task took me a small while to get, but I'm very happy with this one being a 0, because we want the most western tree in the circle, which is the tree furthest away from us in this patch of woodland. And if you look here, Charlie is going to be down on this one. Bravo only just crosses the path, I believe, and so he's going to be on this tree here, and Delta is on the black cross. So we want a tree probably also being hidden by the Charlie tree, and so that one is definitely a 0. And I think that was a nice station to throw in as the second station, as it got a lot harder, but there were still quite a few clues to help you out. So well done if you did manage to get all of that right. And then moving on to station 3, I think this first task was quite an interesting one to throw in to start with, as I was debating whether we were in the right place to start with, but then I saw that the path curved to the right hand side in the photo, and here the path curves to the left, and so we must be a long way back there. You can also see the black cross here is the black cross there with the curving path, and that fits with all these trees, and so this one is definitely a 0 to start off with. Moving to the second task then, and we want a tree within the massive patch of trees, and we want the middle one in the circle, which is going to be this one here. I potentially would have gone with northwestern, but I can also agree that middle works. And really, to place this, we need to place this most distinctive tree, and it is the most western one in the clump, and so I believe that must be the Delta tree, as it's right next to the path. So in placing that, we want the tree that's further back and right, and that does seem to be the tree that Foxtrot is on, and so I am very happy to say that one is Foxtrot, although it does seem a bit too close to the thick woodland at the back, but I think that's just a depth issue with the photo, and we've got to believe that that one is true. And then this one took me a lot longer to get, and I think I probably have got this one wrong, and this is my first mistake of the day, because we want a thicket, and I was originally drawn to Charlie, although I was looking and saw that there was a green thicket and there was a slightly lighter green thicket next to each other, and we wanted the thicker one with the western side, and I originally saw that, and for some reason couldn't see that Charlie is definitely right next to the path, and thought there was going to be another thicket hiding behind this sign, and so that one is Charlie. However, in looking at it again, Alpha must be at the edge of the woodland, and so Bravo has to be on the greener thicket that we can see. It's a lot more obvious now, definitely on the western side, and there is definitely a slightly less dense thicket to the right of it. So I am very happy to say that that one is now Bravo. That is my first mistake of the day, taking my time at the moment to a score of 216. But one thing I know is definitely not a mistake, however, is this one, because we've already placed Delta in this massive clump of trees on the most distinct tree, and we want a thicket that's going to be back and right of it, and so is definitely going to be out the photo, and so is definitely a 0. And then we come to finish the station to the distinct tree that we have been placing throughout the station, and so that one is definitely Delta to round us off. And I think that was definitely a tougher station. The 2 zeros could have easily tripped you up, but also 33 being Bravo rather than Charlie. I think quite a lot might have gone with Charlie, although I wouldn't be surprised if the majority do go for Bravo. We will have to see that later on. Moving on to station 4 then though, I think the key thing that I placed here was the canopy building, which you can just about see there. And once I saw that, I was expecting it to be a black cross, but then the map came and it was the canopy, and I actually think that fitted better. And you can also see the bend in the path, which helps place us. And then looking at it, we want the first tree that we come to from the canopy, and there's going to be 2 in a line coming towards us, and then further south of it there's going to be 2 almost perpendicular to it. And when the photo came, I did see these 2 trees with those 2 almost being perpendicular to it in 2 sets of 2, and we want the furthest one away in this second set. And so that one is definitely Echo, it's definitely on the southeastern side, and I'm happy with that one. And then we go behind the canopy, there is definitely no kites behind the canopy, and so that one is a 0. Coming forward then, I think this was the hardest task of the station, because when I originally looked at this, I put this area as all one bush. However, there are 2 on the map, and so you may potentially think this one is a 0 as it's tucked away behind the front bush. However, I noticed the small bit of sunlight down here, which told me that the 2 bushes are definitely separate, and so the smaller one is going to be the one that Alpha is next to, and I'm very happy that that one is Alpha with that enhanced kite. And then again we go back to where the canopy was, and it's going to be behind the 2 trees which we originally saw having Echo on, and so is probably that one there sticking up. You come down and there's no kites back there. That would have been quite an interesting kite location actually, if you'd maybe moved expect Bravo to be there, or Charlie, but I think that one is definitely a 0 through there. And then we come forward to the horizontal line of 2 trees as we're looking at them, and we want the northeastern one, which is the right hand one, and that's definitely where Delta is, nice and quick to finish off the station. And that was another good station. I think this was potentially a bit easier than station 3, but there were again a few tricks to throw you, and most of what I did require spotting the canopy of the building, so well done if you did manage to do that. And then the final station with the real kites I thought was another good station. We started off with this task, and originally what I saw with Charlie and Foxtrot were a patch of 4 trees in a sort of triangular shape, with those 3 going on the back line and Charlie being the one in front, and then 1 tree back there with Echo. But then when the map comes, you can see there is a shape of 4 trees, but there are 2 trees back there, and we want the southeastern of the 2. Now I firstly had a quick glance to see whether any other location on the map could be correct, but I couldn't see any other place we could be stood, so I had to believe that those 4 trees were the right 4 as they fitted too well. And we also have 2 bushes to the left hand side, which is probably the Alpha and Delta bushes, and so the decision here is, could there be a tree to the right hand side of Echo which is more southwest than it? But I don't believe there can be, as if you look here there are no trees, and if you also look at the alignment from the 2 middle trees in the patch of 4, they sort of point towards Echo. So I was very happy to say that this one is Echo. There probably is a tree hiding back there, you can just about see its trunk, and so that one is definitely Echo to start us off, but I think that was quite a hard one to start with. But then after placing all the other kites from doing that, I think the station got a lot easier as we come to the point of the triangular shape, so that one is definitely Charlie on the south side of that tree. And then we go out to the front bush and we want the western side of it, and we have already placed Alpha right over there, so I'm happy with that one being Alpha. And then the most 2 interesting tasks here were the 4th and 5th ones, and I definitely believe that the 4th one is a 0 and the 5th one is Bravo, because looking at it I would have definitely mapped this tree as more distinct as the one next to it, and so this is probably the distinct tree rather than the one next to it being the smaller one, and then the one further up which we want being another slightly less distinct one. The other way of telling this is if you look at the alignment of the Charlie and the tree behind it as well, they are going to point south of the tree that we actually want, but if you look where they point here, the point goes to the north of where Bravo is. So that one was definitely a 0 on the wrong tree, and if you look where the circle moves, we move to the most distinct tree, and that tree is definitely a broadleaf tree. It's not a needle leaf tree like the tree next to it, and so I was very happy to then answer that one as Bravo to finish off the station. And I think as a final station with the real kites, it was a good station. The hidden tree definitely made it a lot harder to answer Echo, but there were a lot of clues there again to help you out, so well done if you did manage to spot them. And then with station 6, the first station with the drawn in kites, the first task did take me more than 2/3 of the whole station to do, and this was because I was trying to place myself, as there was another area I thought we could be, and it's this area down here with the 2 trees and the 3rd tree there. However, looking at it, I then saw the canopy that we had used in station 4, I think it was, just there, and so really once you've spotted the canopy with the building being there, you know that these 3 trees, even though they're on a slightly different alignment, will be these 3, with Echo on the bush behind it. Bravo will be on the front one of these 3 trees with the thicker woodland through it. I think that's been mapped quite well. And then Alpha's going to be on this bush in front here, and Foxtrot is going to be on the bush just next to it there. And so I spent the 21 seconds placing that, convincing myself it wasn't these 3 lines, and then I did go very quickly, so I'm going to talk it through. But here we've seen the 3 trees in a line. We want the closest one to us out of the 3 trees, and so that one is definitely Charlie on the northwestern side of that tree. And then we move to the bush which we did talk about being the one right next to the Charlie tree, and Alpha is definitely on the western side of that one, so that one is Alpha. And then looking at the line of trees again, we want the back of the line of 3 trees, and if you count down, that one is definitely Delta, right next to the canopy as well, and also next to the bush which Echo is on. And then we come forward and we want the bush that we have already talked about having Foxtrot on is in line with the Alpha bush as well. It is right out in the front of the photo, so you may be doubting it, but again the woodland is too thick to be this one, and there's nothing else down here it could be, so that one is definitely Foxtrot. And then we go out to the patch of 3 trees. This took me slightly longer to get to, as the control description does say thicket, and to be honest I probably would say thicket over tree with that stuff, but it's definitely on the western side. It fits with all the other clues we've worked with from the previous 4 tasks, and so I'm very happy to say that one is Bravo to round off the station. And I do think that station was possibly quite a tough one to bring us in on, especially with a couple of different options for where we could be, but I do think I'm very happy with all those answers, and it does turn out that this was a no zero station like I first suspected. So well done if you did manage to put no zeros in that station and get them all right. And then finally with station 7 we move to the area, which is why we have the black crosses being all the different types of feature, because there are so many in this photo. But the distinctive things here are the two sand pits with the black crosses in them. And if you look here, you can see the sand pit with the bit sticking out of it going to the right, which is here with the black cross, and the other black cross here with the other sand pit just there. So we can place ourselves quite nicely. You can see the black crosses do fit along the bush to the right hand side, and then we want a black cross to the left hand side, and we want it away from a tree. Now if we turn from this one with the sand pit, you can see the next one we reach is this bin here. I'm guessing it's a bin with the tree next to it with Alpha on it, and so the next black cross which we reach must be the black cross with Bravo on it. So I'm very happy to say that that one is Bravo next to the thicket as well. I think that all seems to line up quite nicely. Then with the second task, I think this was possibly my favourite task of the day. It was quite a nice trick to throw in. We want a tree the other side of the path, and Echo is definitely on a tree the other side of the path, and it kind of fits with the sign being Delta. However, if you look at the direction that this sandpit is pointing, it's pointing to the tree that Echo is on, and if you look at the map, it points towards this tree here, and so I believe this is definitely the wrong tree. The tree we want is going to be on the right hand side behind that bush, and so I am happy to say that that one is a 0, but I believe it is the final 0 of the day. As we then move to the tree that we had placed Alpha on beforehand, being in relation to these two black crosses which have Bravo on and this one here, and so I was very happy to say that that one is Alpha. You can also see a small bit of tree coming out to the left hand side of the photo, and that must be the tree to the left of it as well. And then this is the one I had to trust the most here, because I saw the bush between the two sand pit areas, and I saw there was a black cross on it, but I couldn't really see the black cross during the competition, but I think I can just about see it now. It is a bench just through there in the thicket, but Charlie to me was definitely in the right position to be where that black cross was. It was definitely on the right side of that thicket, and so I was happy to say that that one was Charlie on the southwestern side of that black cross. And then finally we come up to a black cross which is right next to the black cross of the slide that we have said before, and so is probably where Foxtrot is. For another sanity check, there is another black cross here. There are two black crosses around that thicket, and it's the one closest to us that we want. So Foxtrot is definitely there. It is on the northeastern side of that black cross, and so that one is Foxtrot to round off the day. And I think after all of that, there was only one mistake that I made there, with 33 being Bravo rather than Charlie, and so my overall time should be a time of 216 seconds, which I don't think is too bad at all. I think this was definitely a very interesting day. It was potentially a lot easier than the Swedish forest that we had just been competing in over the last week or so, but I do think it was still great nonetheless, and so thank you to Sultan for putting this course together. But let's now go have a look at the current position I am in the leaderboard, and you will see I am in 8th, joint 8th with Raphael. I'm not really surprised by that. I think there will be quite a few today with no mistakes, and so one mistake will knock me down a couple of places, so we will have to see where I fall when the day ends, but I will see you again when the answers come out for the overall results. And we are back, and you can see I've just dropped slightly down to 13th, joint with two other people now rather than one other. Severin did join me here, and I'm not too disappointed with that at all. It was only one mistake. It does seem like as we scroll up now there are only two people in the top 15 which actually made a mistake. Everyone else was clean with no mistakes, so I'm not really surprised I'm that far down. It is very well done to Yuha though for winning this event, winning it by 6 seconds, but Vladimir in second place did it a lot quicker, just made an error in Station 3, and that cost him the victory there. Station 3 definitely seems to be the place where Yuha won the event though, as that seems to be where most of the mistakes were made in the top 20, and he was very consistent throughout all the other stations, rarely having a station above 20 seconds, so very well done to him for doing so. We'll have a quick look at the station percentages now then, and with Station 1, as we scroll, it is looking very green compared to some of them from last week, and all the percentages here are above 75%, so they have all been very well answered. The first two tasks being very slightly lower, but I don't really think any of them are too bad at all, so we shouldn't really need to have a look over Station 1 again. Going on to Station 2 then straight away, and it's again looking very green. Maybe this first task was the least well answered here, and as we reach the bottom we have hit a task below 50% with 362 or 42% of you going with Foxtrot as the answer, but there were 232 going with 0 and 138 also went with Charlie. Now to me here with this this first task, you had to really spot the green blob behind the Foxtrot kite in order to place Foxtrot as the right answer here. So I'm not really surprised there were quite a few zeros, and also quite a few for Charlie, as it was on a distinctive tree there. But well done if you did manage to get that one as Foxtrot. And the third task as well was fairly low, as 522 managed to realise it was a zero, but 302 also went for Delta. This was the one that was on the wrong black cross, but Delta was on a black cross. It was just too close for us, and the one that we actually wanted was the one that was just coming out from the side of the green blob we used to answer task 1. So well done if you did manage to get those two harder tasks right. I think the other 3 were very well answered, so most of you would have got 2 or 3 right there at least. So well done again if you did manage that. And then with station 3 is probably going to be the reddest of the day, as this was where the most mistakes came in the top 20. And looking at the percentages, there is only one below 50% at 49%, but there are 2 very close together. And these were the first 2 tasks. The first task was a 0, 425 if you managed to notice that, but there were 170 for Bravo and 237 for Charlie. Now I do wonder whether the people who put Bravo hadn't seen either the Alpha or the Bravo kite, as they were close together, and thought that Charlie was Bravo, as I think Charlie was a much more plausible answer for this one than Bravo. However, it was definitely on the wrong position along the path. Where Charlie was, the path was still curving to the right, and we wanted a place that was curving to the left. And so to me that one was a clear 0, and just under 50% of you managed to get that. But 50% of you, being 430 of you, managed to get Foxtrot as the answer to the second task. There were still 252 for Delta though, and 115 also went with 0. To me, I thought Delta was on the distinctive tree, and most of you managed to notice your mistake in the 5th task. It was a debate between Foxtrot and 0, and Foxtrot did look a bit too close to the bush for me, but it fitted all the trees around it. So I was happy to put that one as Foxtrot, and it does turn out it was right. And then actually the third task here being 60%, this was the one I got wrong, going with Charlie, and so did 186 others, but 520 did manage to realise it was Bravo, and there were also 102 for 0. When we went over this before, I said that I thought Charlie was on the thicker one, but then we looked at it again, and I could very clearly see the denser thicket to the left hand side of Bravo, so I was happy with that one being Bravo. But well done to the 520 that did manage to spot that during the competition, and also very well done to anyone that managed to get the final 2 tasks right. They were very well answered, so well done for doing that. Moving on to station 4 then, and it's probably going to look a lot greener, and it is. It's maybe this third task is going to be the lowest answered, and it is with 60%, with 514 realising it was Alpha, but there were 212 for Bravo as well. This was the one that I potentially took the longest time on, I think, here, and I can see why quite a few put Bravo, as the bush that Alpha was on looked like it merged with the bush in front of it to make one bush. However, we could see the point that the 2 bushes were divided at, and so that did show us that there were 2 bushes here rather than one, and that one was definitely Alpha. So well done if you did manage to spot that. And again, the rest of the station here is almost all in the 90%, so it's just got an 88, which is slightly below that, so I don't really need to go over anything else there. You all answered it very well. And then moving on to station 5, this is possibly going to be greener as well, and it really is. Maybe this first task again might be the worst answered as we're looking at it, and it is the only one really low, as the rest are all 75% and up. The first task was 57%, with 493 realising it was Echo, and the slightly higher wrong answers were Foxtrot and 0, but there were still a few for Bravo, Charlie and Delta. I can see why quite a few put Foxtrot, as it was on the most southwestern tree. However, we said before it was in that triangle of 4 smaller trees, and I can also see why quite a few would put 0, as we can only see one tree and we need to decide whether Echo is on the tree that we want out of the 2 that we know are there. But to me there was definitely no trees to the right hand side of the Echo tree, and so I was very happy to say that one was Echo. But well done to the 492 others of you that managed to spot that, and again well done to anyone that got any of the final 4 tasks right. They were all very well answered. And then with station 6, moving to the different type of photo, let's see how many put all no zeros here, and actually all the percentages here are above 75%. So again, like the first station, we don't really need to go over any of these tasks because they were all very well answered. That was potentially because there were no zeros in this station, and so you were able to just trust that all the kites were in the right place. But even so, it is sometimes quite hard to put no zeros in a station as a competitor, so very well done to quite a few of you for doing that. And then finally we come to station 7, and in scrolling it's looking like this second task is possibly going to be the worst answered here, and when we reach the bottom it definitely is, with it being 57%, 488 realising it was a 0, but 330 also going with Echo. I can see why Echo was the clear choice here, as it was on a tree the other side of the path, but we did point out that the sand pit with the slide right in front of us points towards the echo tree, and it doesn't point towards the tree that we actually wanted on the map. So well done to the 488 that did manage to notice that was a 0, and again well done to anyone that got any of the other tasks right in this station. They were very well answered again. Let's go and have a look now at these slightly less well answered tasks in the station. You will notice that the banner at the top of this page has changed to say the Hungarian TORUS Tempo Trophy. I do like that. And as we're going into here, we don't really need to discuss anything in station 1 because it was so well answered. I think you all managed to get a good grasp of the map straight away, noticing the 3 trees, and so very well done for doing so. But in station 2 there were 2 tasks to discuss. The first one being the first task in the station, and I think if you didn't spot the green blob behind Foxtrot, it would have been quite hard to place exactly where we were, but that was the key feature to spot here. It's very big and distinctive, and there's only one place it could be on the map, therefore making the tree in front of it the tree that Foxtrot's on. So I was happy to say that one is Foxtrot, but I can also see why some people thought it was Charlie on a distinct tree west of some woodland. And also this third task, there were quite a few for Delta. However, again, if you did spot the green blob, you knew it was going to be behind the bush of the green blob, and so we can't really see it. The sign we want is just poking out there, and with no kites on it, we know that one's definitely a 0. So well done if you did manage to get that. I do think this was a harder station than the first station. With station 3 then, it got harder again as the first 3 tasks weren't that well answered, and I could definitely see why some of you put Charlie for this one, as it is on a thicket right next to the path, but I think the thicket we actually want is just through there, probably that one there, as the path here bends to the right, as we keep saying, and the patch of the path we want on the map bends to the left, so it is way too far back. I can easily see why quite a few put Bravo though, because Bravo is quite invisible on that thicket. The arrow does point it out, but if you haven't spotted the arrows, then you would just go Alpha Bravo. That didn't matter anyway, as it was a 0, but well done if you did manage to spot that. With this one, I can see why there were quite a few for Delta, and I can also see why there were a few 0s as well, because Delta is on a tree, but I do think it is the distinct tree in this area, as it's the one covered in all the ivy, and so it's that one there. And in doing so, as we said before, we're just going back and to the right, and if we just go back and to the right, Foxtrot is on the tree that we want. I again appreciate that it is very close to this thicket, but I think that is just a photo depth issue, and we really have to trust the other clues that go around it, specifically all these trees here. So well done if you did manage to spot that one as Foxtrot. And then we come to my only mistake of the day, and I can definitely see clearly now that this one is Bravo rather than Charlie. That thicket is a lot denser than this one, and we want the denser one, and we want the western side, which is exactly where Bravo is. So well done if you did manage to spot Bravo for that one, and again well done for getting the final 2 tasks in this station correct. I think they were very well answered to finish it off. With station 4 then, again it was very well answered. This third task was the weakest, but it wasn't too weak at all, and I can see why some of you put Bravo, as it does look like potentially this is all one thicket with Alpha on it, and the next thicket back is Bravo. However, we did point out the change in the thicket here, and so there are 2, and Alpha is on the one furthest back, making this one definitely Alpha, as we want the northwestern one. So that one was good, and again the rest of the station was very well answered here, so well done for getting all of those right. With station 5 then, it was only really this first task which was badly answered, and there were quite a few Echoes and Foxtrots here, which I can completely agree with. Foxtrot is the most southwestern, however it is part of this triangle of 4, as we've said before, and so Foxtrot is on this tree here. It is a debate between Echo and 0, and I can see why some of you put 0, as we can only see one tree. However, there are definitely no trees to the right hand side of Echo. These are all way too far away, and so Echo is the most southwestern one in the circle, and the answer to this one is definitely Echo. But well done if you did manage to spot that, and actually I do have to say well done for getting 54 right. I think that was quite a cool trick to play, and I was expecting more people to fall for it and then realise at the 5th task, but that does show you are learning, so very well done. And then this 6th task with the move to the street view and the drawn in kites, it didn't really affect you at all, as most of you managed to put no 0s for this station, so I think that was a good job. It did throw me to start with, so I probably could have gone a bit quicker if I hadn't spotted that line of 3 trees, but well done to most of you for doing so well. And then finally with the final station, it was only really the 0 that people got wrong, and I can see if you're moving quickly you will think this one is Echo, but we do keep saying with the other clues, this patch of sand points towards the Echo tree, and so this patch of sand will point towards that tree, and so Echo must be on this tree as the patch of sand points towards it, not the tree that we actually want, which is round behind this thicket, and so this one is a 0. But again, well done for getting the rest of the station right. I think this was quite a hard station to end on, so just getting even one of the 5 is still a very good job. And that does bring us to the end of the second round of the TORUS trophy. Let's go and have a a look now at the overall results for the series so far, and you can see that I have actually dropped to second. Alessio, after his third place today, he's come third in both events, has moved ahead of me. He's now only about 0.3 points ahead after my 13th place today. And then we have Eric in third place, 1.5 points behind me, with Marit moving up into fourth after her 6th place today, and then Severin down to 5th after his 13th place as well. So I do think already this is very close for the top positions in the competitors region, and we will have to come back next month to see how this plays out. In terms of the clubs though, we have Massey taking the lead from MDOC with this event, coming first by a very considerable margin, and then MDOC, as we said, moving down to second after a third place today, only just being beaten by LS37, who are still in third place. There are less than 20 points separating the top three, so I do think it's anyone's game at the moment, and only 6 points behind LS37 is MTV Season, who we know came second in the Swedish Forest Cup just gone. So I think already the club leaderboard is getting very close, and I'm excited to see how this plays out over the next few events, especially with only 9 of the 12 scores counting. And finally, with the countries, the Italians have managed to take first place away from the Brits after coming first today, and then 10 points behind them are the Finns with their second place today, and only 0.8 points behind that are GBR after they only came 7th today. Third place is still very respectable, and we are still in a fighting position for second and even first, so again we'll have to see how that plays out. But 15 points behind them are the Germans, with the Japanese only 3 points behind them. So really, after 2 events, it is still very close. Anything can happen, especially with the top 9 of your scores counting rather than all 12, and so you will just have to join me again next month to see what happens in the third round of the TORUS trophy. But for now, that is the end of today's video. Thank you all for watching again. If you would like to like the video, as always, and subscribe to the channel, making sure that you also hit the bell next to the subscribe button and select all to make sure you do receive all the notifications for any video I release. I do realise they have come slowly with the Swedish ones, and I'm still going to work to get all of those out as soon as I can, as they are all recorded. And also be remembering to share these videos. We got 850 people on the leaderboard today. That is still very good, but I do think we can get 1,000 at some point competing in a day. I do also realise that the TORUS events coming next month will have 2 split leaderboards, but in doing my 1,000 I will count both of them together. So if you do again have any orienteering friends that aren't taking part at the moment, do make sure you are sharing the simulator and these videos with them, and let's see if we can reach 1,000 at some point. And as always, as you are doing so well, make sure you are commenting below any extra analysis you think I missed from the video, and potentially any interesting parts that you think would go well in the videos. And I will join you again in just under a week's time for the start of the Spring 2021 TORUS Cup.